What's up guys, Irina here and welcome back to my channel where I review everything tech. In today's video, I want to talk about these two iPhone models, the 2019 11 Pro Max and the 2020 12 Pro Max. Let's talk about all the differences and nuances when it comes to using these two iPhones, and let's start with the dimensions and the design. The 12 Pro Max is just a little bit taller than the 11 Pro Max, but they're pretty much the same when it comes to width. However, being quite similar in size, I have to admit that the square shape of the 12 Pro Max make this phone feel bulkier in hands. I've been using this phone for about a month now, but honestly, I still cannot get used to it. It still feels kind of clumsy when I take it from a desk. To me, it feels a little like picking up a brick. When it comes to weight, the 12 Pro Max and the 11 Pro Max are pretty much the same weight. As you can see, they're just 4 grams apart. But when it comes to design, I think both of these phones look really good. I'm a fan of matte finishes, so these two look really appealing to me. But let's face it, they're not that different from each other when it comes to design. I think the overall square shape and the bigger camera lenses with the LiDAR are the only features that would tell you that this is the 12 Pro Max and not the 11 Pro Max. And probably among the less noticeable differences are the 5G antenna, a SIM slot that moved to the left side on the 12 Pro Max, and the number of speaker holes, 7 on the 11 Pro Max and 6 on the 12 Pro Max. If you ask me, I like the square shape of the 12 Pro Max. Honestly, my first thought was that maybe this design is a little outdated for 2020, but it kind of grew on me, and I think there's actually something about this square shape, but of course, it's up to your preferences, guys. And now let's talk about the displays of these phones. We have two OLED screens here, a 6.5-inch display on the 11 Pro Max and a 6.7-inch display on the 12 Pro Max. We have an absolutely flat display on the 12 Pro Max, and we have slightly curved bezels on the 11 Pro Max. And speaking of bezels, Apple claims that there are smaller bezels on the 12 Pro Max, but honestly, I don't see any difference. Perhaps Apple was referring to the screen-to-body ratio, but I think for an average consumer, it might sound a little misleading. Also, as you can see, the notch is still here on the iPhone 12 Pro Max. And if we look at brightness, I think the 11 Pro Max and the 12 Pro Max are pretty much the same. Overall, these two displays are really good in terms of brightness. I've never had any complaints here. In my unboxing video with the iPhone 12 Pro Max, I mentioned that there is a difference in colors when you look at these two displays, and I'd like to talk about it in more detail in this video. So, when I put these two phones side by side, the first thing that struck me was that the colors on the 12 Pro Max look warmer than on the 11 Pro Max. And in the real world, this difference is especially noticeable on the white colors, but it looks like my camera picks up on the difference better if there is orange or yellow colors in the photos. As you can see, they look more vivid on the display of the 12 Pro Max. Also, this difference could be pretty noticeable when it comes to skin colors. For this reason, I think I like the display of the 11 Pro Max better, since the colors seem more realistic to me. But at the same time, I cannot say that this is a deal breaker for me. When I use my 12 Pro Max without comparing it, I don't feel like there is something wrong with this display. It's really bright and sharp. So if you get the iPhone 12 Pro Max, I don't think you'll be disappointed, but just keep this difference in mind. Next, let's talk about the battery of these phones. Surprisingly, we get a smaller battery on the 12 Pro Max, and it's really surprising since let's not forget that this phone supports 5G, which is quite demanding. Despite the fact that Apple claims that the iPhone 12 Pro Max should last as long as the iPhone 11 Pro Max, from my experience, I cannot say that this was the case. Using both of these phones extensively, I must say the battery life on the 11 Pro Max is noticeably better than on the 12 Pro Max. I especially felt this difference when I just switched from my 11 Pro Max to the 12 Pro Max. So if you're looking for the best battery life in an iPhone, I would say go for the 11 Pro Max. But don't get me wrong, the 12 Pro Max is able to get me through the whole day, which is still pretty good for a smartphone. Now let's talk a little about the MagSafe charger. A quick reminder for you guys, both of these phones support wireless charging, which means you can use the MagSafe charger with the 12 Pro Max as well as the 11 Pro Max. Despite the fact that on Apple's website we have a blank in the MagSafe compatibility section, the MagSafe charger works absolutely fine with the iPhone 11 Pro Max, even through the case. The only difference is that the MagSafe charger will strongly latch to the 12 Pro Max since this phone has a magnet coil inside, while it won't happen with the 11 Pro Max. You just put your phone on the MagSafe like on any other wireless charger. Also, keep in mind that the 11 Pro Max is not compatible with the MagSafe accessories, such as a wallet. Once again, it's because the 11 Pro Max doesn't have a magnet inside. When it comes to the internals and the overall performance, yes, we have the new A14 Bionic chip on the 12 Pro Max and A13 Bionic chip on the 11 Pro Max. I've never had complaints about the 11 Pro Max, so I'm not gonna tell you guys that from the first moment I took the 12 Pro Max in my hands, I felt this huge difference in speed right away. Yes, it's really zippy and fast, but so is the 11 Pro Max. But it's important to note that the default storage on the iPhone 12 Pro Max is 128GB versus just 64GB on the 11 Pro Max. Now let's talk about the cameras of these phones, and this has always been one of the most curious and interesting parts for me about any smartphone. We have a triple 12-megapixel camera on the iPhone 11 Pro Max as well as on the 12 Pro Max. I already have a very comprehensive camera comparison video on my channel featuring the 11 Pro Max and the 12 Pro Max. Check it out if you haven't already. In a nutshell, the 12 Pro Max has some new features that the 11 Pro Max doesn't have, and the first one is the night mode portrait. So basically, now you can take night shots in the portrait mode, which is kinda amazing, especially if you're a content creator. The next feature that we have on the 12 Pro Max and that is missing on the 11 Pro Max is the night mode on the ultra-wide camera. And I personally was really excited about this new feature because I use the ultra-wide camera pretty often, but when the lighting was far from perfect, the quality of the ultra-wide shots was pretty bad on the 11 Pro Max. So with the 12 Pro Max you can take pretty good ultra-wide photos even in very low light conditions. Also, Apple claims that we get the new Smart HDR3 on the whole iPhone 12 lineup, but honestly, I wouldn't say there is a dramatic difference between the photos from the 11 Pro Max and the 12 Pro Max, especially when it comes to daylight photos. Once again, I would invite you to watch my side-by-side camera comparison video so that you can see the difference for yourself. And by the way, speaking of videos, I think the most advertised feature on the new iPhone 12 Pro Max was the HDR video recording with Dolby Vision. And yes, I must say this is pretty amazing. The videos just pop with brightness and the colors look amazing. However, once you upload these videos on Instagram or YouTube, this HDR effect disappears right away. And sometimes I think, what's the point of it if I can't even share it with my family and friends or use it in my work? So this is kind of disappointing, especially if you're a content creator, but one day I think it will be fixed as more apps and platforms will support it. Next, let's quickly talk about the speakers of these iPhones. Both of these phones have the in-display speakers up here and the bottom speakers here on the right. Keep in mind that these things on the left are not speakers. I've spent some time carefully listening and comparing. I've even used a decibel meter, but honestly guys, I couldn't hear any difference. Both of these phones are very loud, also the sound quality is really amazing. I mean, these phones sound so much better than some of my older portable Bluetooth speakers. If you ask me, I expected more from the iPhone 12 Pro Max in terms of battery life and the camera performance. Yes, with the new iPhone models being released every single year, we don't really expect drastic changes, but I have to admit that this particular switch from the 11 Pro Max to the 12 Pro Max was the least noticeable one for me. I mean, the only thing that really feels different to me in this phone is the new design. Don't get me wrong, the iPhone 12 Pro Max is a great phone, but if you already have the 11 Pro Max, I don't think it's worth upgrading. And if you're choosing between these two iPhone models and don't really want to spend the extra money, without thinking twice, go for the 11 Pro Max. I hope this video was helpful for you guys. Let me know which phone you're using now and to which one you're thinking of upgrading to. Thank you so much for watching this video and see you in the next one.